Hi there, welcome to Camping Secrets. I'm Marky Mark. We recently got back from a trip down to North Devon. It was Croyd Bay. Had a lovely time. We were using the leisure battery on the Mercedes Marco Polo campervan for the whole weekend. And even though we drove about 200 miles to get back home, because we had the fridge on and things like that, when we got back, the leisure battery on the campervan was drained. And it's about halfway down on the indicator I'll show you now. And that got me thinking about solar panels on the van again. It's an age-old dilemma. Do you put solar panels on the van to enable trickle charging of your battery in decent weather, or are there other alternatives? I think today I want to talk about that with you guys and look at the pros and cons of putting panels on, or look at those other options and see how they work in comparison. So let's dig into this. So solar panels on the top of your motorhome or campervan, what do you make of them? Well, there's a number of advantages as far as I can see it. Firstly, you don't need to think about it. Once they're up on your roof, you can set and forget. In terms of trickle charging your leisure battery on your campervan, you don't really need a separate storage battery to store your solar energy. If you just want to trickle charge, you can use the solar panels to convert the light into electricity, and then just use a charge controller, maybe split relay, to add that charge into the leisure battery and charge it up. So it's a very nice way of keeping your leisure battery on board. That may be a lithium-ion battery, or maybe an older lead-acid type battery. So in terms of trickle charging, I can see the advantage of having the solar panels on the roof. You could also say they're sort of tucked away, you know, on top of a van. You don't need to think about them, and they're there. I know a lot of people who've installed solar panels themselves. I think it's a fairly easy job. You need to sort of either get the flexible type or the rigid type, and there's pros and cons of each of those. Attach them to the roof, run the wiring inside, attach in a charge controller, and then wire it in. Now, some people may be able to do that, some may not. So it's something to bear in mind whether you've got the skills to do that. Otherwise, you've got to pay someone to do it, so that's probably a disadvantage. The panels on your roof can often be high efficiency, and they're normally weatherproof as well, so you can leave them out, leave them installed, come rain or shine or snow, whatever the weather, install them. You know, so there are advantages of doing it. But the way I see it, I think there are some disadvantages as well, and that's part of the reason I've not gone down that route, even though I'm thinking about it now. So what do I see as the disadvantages of installing solar panels on them? Firstly, it will cost some money. Solar isn't the cheapest solution. You know, a typical 200 watt panel may cost £300 in the UK, maybe a little bit less. So if you want sort of 500 watts, it could cost quite a lot. Then you've got the charge controller, the wiring, the installation. It can mount up. It probably can reach £1,000 quite easily. And for me, £1,000 just to keep the battery, leisure battery, topped up seems a bit excessive. So from a price point of view, you know, I'm in two minds. I'm willing to be persuaded one way or the other. Then there's flexibility. Obviously, once the panels are on the roof, it's going to be a pretty permanent fixture there. So they can only really then be utilized for the purpose that they've been intended. And if that's just trickle charging your onboard leisure battery, that's a fairly limited application, because in that circumstance, you will only be getting useful electricity when the sun's shining. So let's get down to that. In the UK today, the sun is beaming down, and that's what got me thinking about this. The sun is it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is vertically overhead, and it is coming down onto my bald head and also onto the roof. So it's the perfect conditions today for solar charging the battery. So I'm missing out on that. I'm not capturing that light, and you know, if you think about it, the panels will be flat on the roof, so when the sun's directly overhead, you're getting maximum sunlight. But most of the day, the sun is at an angle. It can be quite low in the sky. So if you think the light is coming at an angle, but your panel is facing up vertically, the light is coming in at an oblique angle. So you're not going to get maximum conversion efficiency of light to electricity. So that's another disadvantage. It's fine for trickle charging over days and days your battery, but for efficiently capturing the maximum electricity that you can for that size panel, having it in a fixed position on the roof probably isn't ideal. Then if you want to use that power for other things, you sort of really need an inverter. You want to be able to store your solar power, your solar energy, and store it somehow. So obviously you're charging up your leisure battery on board, but you may want to have an inverter as well, which can take that, start driving sort of AC powered units, maybe a cooler or whatever you want to do. So at that point, a sort of power station functionality becomes important, I think, to get the maximum usage of that power. So what I'm saying here is you want a way of storing as much of the solar generated electricity as possible, and then using it in as many different ways as possible. So you've got two factors here. You've got to be able to store what's coming in, and you've got to be able to use and distribute what has been stored in the most flexible way for you personally as possible. Some other disadvantages, as I see it with the panels on the van, is simply fitting them. I mean, I think you can put them on without damaging the van, but I know that some of the flexible panels are glued down. They may be screwed through the roof. Just attaching them permanently can cause some damage. It's unlikely, but I think there is a risk of that. So that's another reason we haven't put panels on our van. I don't really want to disrupt the roof. There is also a risk of, if you've got the thicker, rigid panels, especially if they're on like a roof rack kind of arrangement, you know, it's an extra bit of wind resistance, a bit of loss of aerodynamics, and it may impact a little bit your fuel economy. I mean, that's a minor consideration in my mind, but it is a consideration. Another slight disadvantage is that your panels there are always there and they're on view. So at the front of the house, you've got panels which are reasonably easily accessible to thieves. I think theft of solar panels is slowly rising, a bit like catalytic converters get stolen on the street. There's a lot of videos showing that. I believe solar panels are heading that way as well. So I'd be slightly concerned about my van if I did have these panels on board. I don't know if that is a consideration that you've thought about, but please let me know in the comments if that's something that's on your mind when you decided one way or the other. I don't really know. I'm sort of just opening the debate here. So, as you saw, my battery is about half down, and I do need to charge it because if you leave a leisure battery, especially a lead acid, if it discharges, it's very difficult to recover it. It can kill the cells. So it's always best to keep something topped up if possible. So what other options are there? Normally when we get back from a trip away and the leisure battery is low, when we get back we put it on charge. So we've got a outside mains 240 volt socket on the side of the garage, and we can just plug it directly in. And then we top that battery back up. And then, you know, you can leave it a month or so, and then if you've left the van on the drive, you will lose charge over time. But then as long as you remember to plug it back in, you can top it up manually. That electricity you are going to pay for, so it's obviously coming out of your main supply. So that is a concern, but you know, electricity prices are fairly low. And I think it would take a long time for the charge of that electricity to pay for fitting the solar panels. And it's a fairly easy process to connect a cable from there to the charge point here on the van. So that's what we've done up to now. But recently I started thinking, I have got some solar panels. They're portable solar panels. And I do have lots of power stations. Now in the past I have tried charging the camper van up with the power station, and it does work. You can watch a previous video here. But today, with this amount of sun coming down, it just got me thinking, can I use my portable solar panels and charge up the camper van with those? in conjunction with a power station. So not only am I charging up the power station, I'm charging up the leisure battery on the van. So that's what we're going to do today. So come with me as I set up the panels, the power station, in the back garden. So you may say, why would you set them up in the back garden? Why not just set them up here? Well, obviously my driveway here is on a main road. And if I set up my portable panels here and a power station outside, I can't really leave them if I just walk off. So that is a real security risk. But I came up with the idea I could set them up in the back garden and run an extension cable from the back to the front and charge up the van. And then it got me thinking that is a real advantage of using portable panels, because you can basically put the panels where you want to and get the sun as and when you need it. So if, for instance, there was a big tree out the front here and I had my panels on the van, this van could be in the shade, but my back garden could be in glorious sunshine. So surely it's more of an advantage to have portable solar panels that I can put where the sun is and then run an extension cable to the van and charge it up that way. Yes, there's disadvantages to portable panels. They can be a little bit more expensive than the fixed panels. And obviously you don't get that trickle charge effect. But if you use it in conjunction with a power station, with a battery and an inverter, you can store that electricity and then use it when you need it to charge the van. Yes, you've still got the hassle of having to set up the panels, but you can optimize the panels much better than you can with fixed panels on the van. So I do see that as an advantage. It's just whether really you can be bothered to set up those solar panels and store that solar energy. I mean, you can make portable panels a sort of semi-fixed arrangement. You could leave them set up. They're fairly durable. I think they're IP65 rated. You can leave them out in the rain. They do work over time. The power station obviously isn't waterproof, so that would need some sort of cover or to be kept inside and charged that way. Anyway, I want to see if this works, so come with me into the back garden where I'm going to set up a couple of solar panels and my power station and then run the cable through, start charging the van. Let's do it. So today I'm going to use 2 of these portable solar panels. I don't know if I need to use 2 of them until I see how much power the trickle charge requires for the van. I don't know what power that draws, that charger, that onboard charger on the Mercedes Marco Polo. So I'm going to use 2 of these panels. They're 200 watt capable each, and they cost from Jackery around 600 quid each. So even before you've started here, these solar panels are about twice the price of the kind of panels that you would fit to the roof of your van. But obviously with these, you don't pay for installation. So, you know, the price could be sort of comparable. It's probably more expensive to go with the portable option, but I don't think it's double the price. So these just open up like so. The sun is coming up from there. Now we can just reorientate these panels wherever the sun is. So you're going to get more power at each point of the day, except at midday when the sun is vertically above. So with these legs at the back, you can see got elasticated legs. We can change the angle as well. So if your sun is coming down, you can sort of have them leaning back. I mean, the sun is very rarely vertically because we're in the UK. It's sort of at an angle. So you don't need them flat on the ground, but you can do that if required. So let's just turn them like this. Nice and easy. Let's just undo another one. Now these will be producing electricity already, but to use it, I think it's best to pipe that into a power station. So today I'm going to use the Jackery 1000 Plus. Let's just go and get it. So you can check the latest price of these panels using the link in the description. As I say, they're about 600 quid each, so that's maybe about 1,200 quid. But that's using Jackery's portable panels. You can get cheaper panels from other suppliers, but these just happen to be the ones I've got. I want to store that energy in a power station. Today I'm going to use Jackery again because I happen to have the 1000 plus available. So this is 1260 watt hours of capacity and up to 2000 watts of output power. It's got an inverter in it. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the Campervan, which doesn't have an inverter as standard. So by having a power station coupled with the solar panels, you've got the best of all worlds because you can store in electricity from sunlight. You can optimize the panels exactly how you want to with respect to the position of the sun, so you can maximize the efficiency. And then all that power gets stored in this battery. With the Campervan solution, you cannot do that unless you fit an appropriate battery and inverter in the van. Now, of course, you could install one of these in the van. So really, I'm going to consider that as what we're doing here. We would do something like a fixed version of this in the Campervan, and you could even have it still removable. You could just use one of these if you want to. But I do think it's a useful addition to the Campervan to store that solar power in an efficient way with an inverter. This also has a load of other outputs as well, not just AC. It's got USB outputs, it's got 12 volt, etc. So it can be a real hub of power. And what's more, you can direct that power exactly where you want it. So I may want to go for a picnic or something, but I can use that solar power for the picnic. I don't have to have it in the Campervan. Now you could install one of these in your Campervan or have it as a sort of temporary fixture and use your solar panels on the roof of your van to charge one of these up. Then when you go for your picnic, you take it with you and Bob's your uncle. But I think the thing I don't completely like is the fixed nature of the panels. It's good in some ways, less hassle, but maybe not the most flexible. Right, this is actually fully charged at the moment, it's 100%. I'm gonna connect it up to the panels, and then I'm gonna run an extension lead through the house to the front garden where the Campervan is, start charging up the Campervan, and then find out how much power the battery charger on the van, full of leisure battery, draws out of this. And obviously with the sunlight going onto the panels, this should be topped up and the van should be topped up. Let's do it. So each of the panels has got its own cable. We simply plug them into the back of the power pack. Now, because it's at 100%, none of the generated electricity from the panels is going into the power pack. It turns off the input when it's at 100%. So this is the extension lead. This goes all the way through the house. I'll show you that through the window. And once we connect to the van, we should be drawing power out of this power station, and then the light should convert into electricity and back into the power station. As you can see here, the cable that I've run through the house, through to the front window. Now obviously this is a little bit of a security risk because the window is open, but we can pretty much close it. Okay, so this cable comes from the back garden where the panels and power station are, through the house, and then you just plug this. It's got a standard charge connector here. Right, let's look inside the van, see how much it starts drawing to charge up the battery. So you can see here we've got the charge symbol, so that means we are adding charge to the van. We've got the fridge on. I've actually got it on full cooling at the moment, maximum. Let's just turn that down a bit, say to a typical value of 3. That's what we use normally on the Marco Polo. And then you can see this charge indicator's going up, and that means it's charging. We're up to 12.9 volts now. Normally these charge at around 14, just under 14 volts, so that I'm expecting that to go up as the battery management system starts to work out that there's power there. Let's go back to the Jackery now and see how much that is saying is being drawn out. Okay, we're back in the back garden now. You can see the cable coming in. Let's look at the Jackery and see what we're drawing. Just rotate the camera. Okay, so actually we've got clouds overhead now. So with these two panels, we're generating about 71 watts. So we've dropped from 100% now to 99%. And you can see that the Jackery is delivering 253 watts to the Campervan, 255. So that's with the fridge on and the battery charger charging. So you can see at this rate with these two panels, 70 going in, 250 going out, with dropping to 98%. So this is going to drop over time until the sun comes out. So this is the dilemma in the UK. When the clouds come over, you don't generate much electricity. We've got two 200 watt panels here. So in theory, they're capable of generating 400 watts, but they're only generating about 70. And that's because the clouds are over. So this would be exactly the same for solar panels on the Campervan. If there was cloud, you're not going to generate much. The advantage of the Campervan solar panels is that they're in position all day, every day. So even though you may get less solar energy at certain parts of the day or when there's clouds, because they're connected for so long, you get a larger time of connection. So you don't need as much power minute to minute because you've got such a long connection time. With portable panels, you may not have as much time, so you want to get as much as possible. When those clouds go, this will be up to 300 watts and we'll be generating more than we're using. But at the moment, we are losing energy. But that's why having an inverter and a battery pack power station is a good idea, because when the generation is low, you can still take power out. And then when the generation is high, you can store it. So it's just like a reservoir. It's a flexible way of doing it. Right, I'm gonna let this go and we'll come back in a bit to see how much was used to charge up the Campervan. So we're back in the Campervan now and we're up to 13.5 volts. So that's closer to the 14 that I was saying earlier. It's still charging. I've turned off the fridge now because in a real scenario, I would be back home or at the campsite. It's unlikely I'd have the fridge on at the same time. It is a possibility, but for this experiment, I thought I'd turn off the fridge and just see how long to get that battery back up to full juice. It's a very hot day, 20, nearly 30 degrees outside, but it is cloudy, so we're not generating as much solar as we could do, but I'm hoping that situation will change. So now I've turned that fridge off, we're down to 200 watts required to charge the van, and we're generating about 107 going in, down to 96% now. So the sun is back out now, the clouds have passed, and I've been leaving this about an hour to charge. Let's have a look at the Jackery. So now we've got 327 watts going in, and now we're only drawing out 83. So the battery charger on the van is taking less out. So let's go back to the Campervan and see what the charge situation is on the Campervan leisure battery. My guess is it's close to being charged up. So we're back in the van now and let's have a look at the charge level. So you can see we're up at 14.2 volts now, and it's been charging like that for a while. It's still saying that it's charging, but it does that all the time, and it's just a quirk of the Mercedes that it does that. So I'm going to unplug the cable from the van now. So let's pull this out. Go back to the van. You can see now we're still at 13 volts, but now we're fully charged. It's even hotter now. So that's a good result. In about an hour, the Jackery power station combined with solar has charged up the leisure battery on the camper van. I've not had to put any panels on the van, and I've now got 100% on the Jackery from solar panel power. So basically I've lost nothing. It's all the energy has come from the sun to charge up this van. I've got that energy in a power station that can be used externally from the van. And the solar panels can be used as well when I need. I can store them in the van, or I can keep them in the house. I can use them in the back garden. So there's more flexibility. What can I say though? The power station is expensive, obviously. It costs over £1,000. And those portable solar panels are expensive as well, £600 each for those particular ones. So I'm still not sure about the trade-off. I know some people like the panels on the van, or maybe you have panels on the van and you have portable solar panels if you've got a load of money. I've got the portable ones. It sort of does the job for getting free energy when it's sunny. I think on cloudier days, this experiment would probably have a very different outcome. But in the summer with good weather, that is an option. And of course, you've still got the charge from the mains for a fairly cheap top up of your leisure battery. The advantage of the panels on the van is that continuous trickle charge, that time of charging. You know, you're charging every day. So your leisure battery will always be topped up. And I think it's nice having that peace of mind. So for me, that is the advantage of having them on the car. But, you know, if it costs £1,000 just for that peace of mind, I'm in two minds for whether it's worthwhile. Let me know what you think in the comments. It's probably one of these that's going to provoke a bit of debate. I don't know the right answer. I'm not saying the portable approach is the best. Maybe some form of hybrid is the best, where you use a power station in the van, but you can remove it. You have panels on the top, and maybe you have a portable panel as well, just to give ultimate flexibility. I don't really know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please give a thumbs up to the video. It takes time to make these, and any recognition that we're doing a good thing really helps the channel, I think. So thanks for watching. I've been Marky Mark. This has been Camping Secrets. Bye for now.